Hey guys, this is Eric with Pixel Rookie, and this is episode 6 of our Kenshi series following the Chronicles of Rook. Before we dig into this episode, let's take a look at the fan art that was submitted since our last video. First up, we have another piece from my Discord member, Ricky19. Here's Rook fighting off the slaver boss while rescuing his newly freed slaves. I already told you that Pixel Rookie loves some Pixel Rook, and the Wanderer drew this piece showcasing Pixel Rook lobbing off the head of one of those pesky cannibals. And here's a great piece from my Discord member, Sigil. Here's Rook taking a moment to soak in the beautiful views of the desert as the sun shines down on him. I particularly like this piece because it shows a happier side of Rook during this dark adventure. One of my newest patrons, Freden's Rice? Anyways, he drew these two awesome pictures of Rook in a really stylized way. To me, he looks like a comic book character here, and I think these are really cool. Baron Jenkins makes a return with another really awesome piece. Here's an action shot of Rook besting one of the slavers as he frees his men. You even have poor Beanhop getting his arms sliced off in the background. Rook looks absolutely pimp here, and the colors and composition are really good too. And finally, Celebrimbor made a short comic inspired from the last episode. There's only one way to share this that would do it justice.
Grandmaster, I thank you, yet I don't have any cats for you.
No, I didn't do it for cats.
What then? Vengeance?
No. Justice. Like all of his other work, I find this to be simply amazing. I hope you liked it too. And that's everything that we have for this time. I really love the hard work you put into making these, and they're all awesome. I really appreciate it, guys. If you want to submit your fan art of this Kenshi series, regardless of your art skill level, be sure to join the Discord and post your art in the fan art channel. I'd love to see your work. The link's in the description below. Okay, now we can get back into the series. Last episode, Rook gave into his impulses and freed some slaves out of eye socket without really thinking through a plan. It was quite a struggle, but in the end he freed 2 slaves, and a third one found them in the desert and joined Rook's cause. On their way back to the hub, Rook slaughtered a group of Holy Nation farmers and became their enemy. At the end of the episode, Rook's new recruits were farming away at iron deposits outside of the hub while he scoured the land and found the perfect location to build their new permanent home, New Raleigh. Little did he know what kind of challenges they faced taking on such a massive task. Now that Rook laid the foundation for the first building of New Raleigh, he knew that they were lacking building materials. He reviewed his map and saw that there was a way station not too far north from their new settlement. He plotted it on his map and began running there to purchase as many supplies as he could carry. He worked into the night building their first small shack. It wasn't much, but they had to start somewhere. The next thing they needed was a research bench. Rook had a lot of cats saved up, but unless they figured out how to build their own materials and grow their own food, they'd run out really quickly. Rook mapped his way back to the way station where he told the others to meet him. Beanhop and Takao were faster than Horus, and they got there way before him. Beanhop sold his load of copper ore to the barkeep. At the same time, Rook filled his inventory back up with building materials. Takao sold his load of copper and filled his stash with as many research books and building materials as he could. Horus finally arrived and he noticed a plastic surgeon in the bar. Horus was a slave name that was given to him long ago. Thanks to Rook, that life was behind him. He spoke to the plastic surgeon and asked to have some work done. Now, a while ago, my longtime viewer, Fravatar, who is a valuable member of New Raleigh 2.0 and RimWorld, asked to be a character in my Kenshi series if I ever made one, and he even sent me the information on his character's body and facial build. Well, good news, Fravatar. Once again, you'll be joining me in this journey. Welcome aboard. Horus was gone. He felt much better being called Fravatar and felt closure to the cruel life he used to live. Beanhop wished for the same change. He'd be named after one of my Discord friends and moderator, Tao, who also happened to be a member of New Raleigh 2.0 and RimWorld. Finally, Takao joined the bandwagon and spoke to the plastic surgeon as well. He'll be named after my Discord moderator, Wansnot. Welcome to the party. Everyone that joins Rook's cause gets a new name. He escorted the 3 men back to New Raleigh to make sure they made it there safely. As they approached their new territory, they saw the humble little shack that was their first step towards their settlement. Now that they had all their building supplies, Rook constructed a small research bench. The next order of business was to construct a well and start plotting out farmland. They worked together to build the well and start harvesting water. They also found a good area to mine stone and plotted a stone processor so they could begin manufacturing their own building supplies. They barely slept. They were determined to continue working. Now that they finished the mine, next was the stone processor.
I don't have any building materials. I don't have any building materials.
Iron plates? Dang. Rook and his men only stocked up on building materials and research books. This meant that Rook needed to return back to the way station and load up on more supplies. He got back to their small market and filled his bag with as many iron plates as he could. All the while, Tao was working hard on a huge queue of items to be researched. This would definitely keep him busy for some time. Rook finally returned from his quick trip to the way station and began constructing their stone processor. Fravatar began working away at crafting some building material. What's going on here? Okay, so let me tell you about these skin spiders. Everyone always complains about beak things, but Rook never heard of people complaining about these terrifying abominations that plagued the spider plains where New Raleigh was built. I guess the name makes sense. Anyways, building the base was hard when you had all these obnoxious, creepy skin spiders wandering the area in clusters looking for delicious flesh to feed on, and right now they had their eyes on Wandsnot. In a panic, he took off towards their small shack looking for cover. Fortunately, these things weren't too fast. Wandsnot ran as quickly as he could and made his way into the shack and slammed the door behind him. As soon as he entered the building, they lost interest in him. Rook didn't account for this kind of nuisance while they established their new home. One little shack wasn't going to be enough space for the four of them, so they laid the plans down for a small storm house next. Rook already bought most of the supplies from the way station, so he made his way back up to the hub for more. He filled his stash back up with crafting materials, but on his way out the door, a man called Rook over to speak with him. This man went by the name of Hobbs, and he asked Rook if he heard of the story of the Wailing Phantom. Rook figured he'd humor the man and asked for more details. Hobbs tells him some absurd story about the Phantom, and it was so bizarre that Rook asked for more details of how he could find this legendary Phantom. Hobbs told him that nobody knows where it exists, but he'd gladly join Rook's cause and help his men find this bizarre creature to claim its fortune. Just like that, Rook found himself with the 5th member of New Raleigh. Like all who joined Rook's team, Hobbs visited a plastic surgeon to change his name and appearance. His name was changed to Chris, after my Discord member, Lame Chops Bot. Now that Chris was prepared to leave the hub, they routed New Raleigh on their map and began their travels. While running through the swamp, Rook struck up a conversation with Chris asking about more information about his legend that started in their earlier discussion. Chris seemed at a loss of what he was talking about. Rook tried to elaborate, but Chris had no idea what Rook was referring to.
Wailing Banshee? I don't know about that. Sounds awfully silly.
Rook felt a mixture of annoyance, amusement, and confusion by their conversation, but he left it be and they continued their trip back to the settlement. Rook returned to the base with his newest recruit and introduced him to Tao and brought him some food from the trip. They quickly realized that green fruit didn't really grow in this arid landscape, and they knew how to grow cactuses now. This would be a much better crop to focus on here. Rook and Tao worked together to finish constructing the storm house. The men weren't paying attention while they were working the stone mine and got jumped by another skin spider. They were far too weak to fight it off. Rook ran to their aid and attacked this disgusting creature. Man, I hate these things. Fravatar and Wandsnot were fine, but Chris was in bad shape. Rook quickly realized another issue. They had no beds at their base to rest at. All they could do right now is to use the way station's inn temporarily until they had beds of their own where they could recover from fighting. See, I don't think you understand just how annoying these things are, and they are everywhere! The entire cluster was chasing after Tao, and he wasn't in the mood to become a snack for these things. He was able to flee back into the shed safely, but it looked like one of the skin spiders stayed behind. It walked past Fravatar's unconscious body and started to slowly gnaw on Wandsnot. They basically had to provoke the spider and herd it away from the unconscious men while Rook swooped in and snagged them. They survived another surprise attack from these things, at least for now. They quickly researched and built a better research bench and immediately focused on building their own beds. In no time, they were able to plan them atop of their newly built storm house. The men didn't have any fabric to build beds yet, but they could pick some up at the way station on their next visit. They were also finally able to begin their first plot of cactus plants to farm. Chris loaded it up with water, and all they had to do was wait for them to grow. Oh, did you know when you begin building a base, everyone in the area will start raiding it? Here we have the stone rats demanding food and payment, which they're not willing to hand over. So what do? Well, they beat Rook unconscious, the other men are hiding in the storm house that's getting raided, and follow them upstairs where they're trying to lay low. Rook underestimated what they were doing here. His new recruits were too weak and they were getting bombarded with skin spider clusters and raids from various factions. He was frustrated as he hid, watching the stone rats leave their base while everyone else was beaten unconscious. He couldn't do anything else other than watch from afar. Once they left, he patched his men up and they finished building the first few beds. At least they'd be able to rest up at their own base now. Oh great, the Holy Nation's gonna pay him a visit too! They arrived and immediately began raiding the buildings searching for the men. Rook and his team were all hiding on the roof of the storm house, and he was really surprised that they didn't seem to know where they were. In fact, the wandering skin spiders were attacking the Holy Nation raid. Though they didn't stand a chance against this many men, it was nice to see them do at least some kind of harm to the Holy Nation. After that, they continued running around like fools searching for Rook's men until they finally gave up and their assault ended. The enemy patched themselves up and began their march back north. Rook snuck out to buy food supplies since they were completely out and his men were growing very hungry. While he was gone, some of the Holy Nation men stayed behind and ambushed the rest of them. There was intense fighting in their storm house. Tao was knocked to the ground, and in one massive swing, the paladin severed one of his legs completely off. He screamed out in pain, and before he blacked out, he saw the rest of his men get beaten down as well. The Holy Nation was sending a message to Rook. They were not safe, and they wanted him and his men to suffer. Fravatar woke up first and healed the other men the best he could, and then laid them in their beds to rest up. Rook knew that they wouldn't survive if they didn't have better protection. They researched defensive walls and began to plot out their perimeter. He wanted to make sure they had enough room for growth and planned a huge wall. They'd have a gate leading into each end of the path and a side entrance that would lead out north towards the way station. It was an ambitious project, but it was necessary for them to be safe. They'd also need to be able to build their own iron plates, so they began the construction of a refinery. Did I mention how when you're building a base you get raided like twice a day? These jerk-offs come into Rook's base demanding protection money? Protection from what? Rook was fed up with this garbage. He went into the group of men and began attacking them. Wansnot and Fravatar were knocked out, but Chris helped Rook stand their ground as they defeated the bandit party that invaded New Raleigh. During all this, Tao was still missing a leg. He wouldn't be very productive unless they did something about it. Rook scooped his friend up and reminded him that he promised to help take care of him after he freed him. He plotted his way to a hive village that wasn't too far away from their base. It's been a while since he was last in Bane. He found the hive village and spoke to the robotics trader. They didn't have anything fancy, but he purchased a replacement leg for Tao. He helped attach it to where he once had his real leg, and for the most part, Tao was ready to get back into action at New Raleigh. Rook was fast enough just carrying Tao back over his shoulder, so he left back for New Raleigh. On their way, he stopped at a way station to pick up more supplies for their developing home. Just like that, Rook's fortune was completely spent. There was definitely a cost to building a base, and the upkeep for feeding 4 other men was quite expensive. Regardless, their base was slowly growing, which meant they would need to power their base soon. Since their new home was flat and windy, they planned a wind turbine in the corner of the base. The construction was finished, and they now had a source of electricity for New Raleigh. Man, I hate these skin spiders. Ugh! Anyways, they upgraded their stone processor to pump out building materials more quickly, and Rook finally finished building their iron refinery as well. Oh, you gotta be kidding me. Get out of here, you stupid pest! The perimeter wall was coming along nicely, and they wanted to generate more electricity for their machines. They planned another wind turbine on the other side of the base. They built it up in no time, and the turbine immediately started working with the wind. Oh man, they really need to finish that wall. It's been a constant struggle since Rook built their first shack with the raids and skin spiders. At this point, Rook didn't know who he hated more, the slavers, the Holy Nation, or these darn bugs. The men were ambushed again and Tao was jumped while he was by himself at their farm. Upon further inspection, they saw that the poor hiver had his other leg gnawed completely off. Rook needed him to be able to help grow more food for their base. It was expensive to buy it at the way station, so he scooped Tao up and began heading towards the hiver village again. He arrived with Tao over his shoulder, and the robotics trader knew exactly what happened. He helped them pick out another leg to get Tao back on his feet. They installed his third robotic limb, and Tao thanked Rook for helping him out. He apologized for getting himself into these situations, but Rook assured him that it was fine. He was helping them build and sustain New Raleigh after all. They made their way back to their new home once again. Rook was working late into the night trying to finish the construction of their wall. This would go much more smoothly if they could prevent skin spiders from getting into their base. Slowly but surely, New Raleigh was growing. Finally, 23 days after beginning this grueling process of building a permanent home for Rook's men, he finally finished constructing the perimeter wall. In hindsight, Rook knew he should have started smaller, but he was more of a learn-as-you-go kind of guy. What mattered now, though, is the fact that they had protection to farm and mine stone without having to worry about skin spiders. There was an iron deposit right outside of their base, so they could easily let someone through the gate to mine and close it off until they were ready to return. This definitely came in handy, and everyone felt much more secure now. Tao became their dedicated farmer since he had a passion for it. They were erecting more buildings to house more storage and technology. Morale was high while Chris and Wansnot worked the stone mine and iron refinery. Tao harvested a surplus of crops, and Fravatar worked as their chef while mining in between jobs with Rook. Days passed without conflict. They were mostly ignored by other factions now that they were barricaded out, at least for now. Rook finally felt like they were safe and secure. He also felt a burning desire to go back out in the world and become even stronger. He had a mission after all, and he wasn't going to stop until New Raleigh and his men were powerful enough to take on the Holy Nation head to head. He pulled Chris and Wansnot into their newly furnished stormhouse and told them the news. They were going with Rook to quest and explore the world with him. The three men would be adventurers while Fravatar and Tao kept the base safe and continued building their food supplies. They anxiously stood by the gate and waited for it to open, and for the first time in what felt like an eternity, Rook began new adventures with his friends. And this is where we'll end this episode. What adventures lay in wait for Rook and his men to discover? Stay tuned for the next episode to find out. I want to make a special shout out to my newest patrons, Shia the Beef, Scarth, and Raggy Fraggy. Your support is extremely appreciated, and I'm really grateful for your help. And a huge thanks to all my patrons who are helping support the channel so that one day I'll turn this hobby into a full-time job and produce narrative content like this regularly. I couldn't do it without you guys, and I can't express how thankful I am for your support. As always, thanks for watching this video, and until next time, have a good one.